someone from health sciences will always talk about veins and arteries and, So, the jugular vein is here. And you know how important it is, right? Okay, let me not go there. Otherwise, I'm going to divert. That's my passion. Yeah? That's really my passion, health sciences. Ladies and gentlemen, as we gather today, under the theme, leveraging the use of AI in education, media and communication, we celebrate the resilience, the innovation, and leadership of women in the media and communication sector. Today's dialogue is a cornerstone of our annual Women's Month celebrations, a time to reflect on the progress that has been made in advancing gender equality, dare I say also gender equity, and to chart the path forward for empowering the next generation of communicators. For over 3 years, the Tshwane University of Technology as well as GCIS have collaborated through the Women in Media and Communications flagship project to create platforms for dialogue, for mentorship, and for growth. Hence, you are here today as our students. This initiative is more than an event, ladies and gentlemen. It is a movement to address the challenges women face in the media industry, from navigating technological disruptions like artificial intelligence to overcoming systemic barriers and cyberbullying, which is quite rife. It's very rife nowadays. It is a space where voices are amplified, experiences are shared, and future leaders are inspired. Today, we are joined by remarkable women. I'm so proud. Remarkable women. The industry pioneers, the educators, and also the students who will share their insights on how we can harness emerging technologies, foster inclusive storytelling, and build a media landscape that reflects the diversity and strength of our society. As we mark significant milestones, such as the 30 years of freedom and democracy in our country, South Africa, we are reminded of the critical role media plays in shaping narratives and driving the social change. To all our students today, from TUT's Department of Journalism and Integrated Communications, you are the heart of this event. You are the heart of this event. We truly and strongly believe in our students. We have no shadow of doubt that when you get out of this university, you are ready to face the world. You are ready to take the world by the scruff of his neck. If I was in another platform, I was going to say amen. I need to, So don't give people like myself podiums. Otherwise, they get to other languages. So to all our students, you are indeed the heart of this event. Your questions, your aspirations, and creativity fuel our commitment to mentorship and empowerment. As highlighted in our recent speed mentoring session, the guidance you receive today from seasoned professionals behind me, they will help you become #a future-ready graduate, to be equipped to lead in a rapidly evolving industry. I extend also my gratitude on behalf of the Tshwane University of Technology to the GCIS, our esteemed partner, for their unwavering support in championing gender equity and amplifying diverse voices. A special word of thanks to our panelists, the mentors, and the media representatives who have taken the time to contribute to this dialogue. You are so important. Can you see these highly experienced colleagues? They have left their offices. They have left their places of work just because of you. And for me, I am truly humbled And I'm not saying this just for myself, but I'm saying it on behalf of the entire executive of the university. We don't take these kind of gestures for granted, ladies and gentlemen. Together, we are building a legacy of empowerment where women not only participate, but lead with confidence and innovation. With confidence and innovation. So confidence, that is alone, we're going to say we are calm. It should be coupled with innovation. You need to be innovative in what you do, whatever career that you follow. Let us use this platform, ladies and gentlemen, to engage openly, challenge the barriers, and inspire one another. May our discussions today spark ideas, foster collaborations, and pave the way for a more equitable and inclusive media and communication sector. Once again, welcome to the TUT and GCIS Women in Media Communications Dialogue. Let us make today a catalyst for change and a celebration of excellence. In my language, I say, kufaya yo kento zakuthi. Amaqobokazana ngalale ndleleni ngabe kunyembelekile.
A big round of applause for her, please. She is Dr. Vatiswa Zamkaka, the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research, Innovation, and Engagement here at the Tshwane University of Technology. I'm just going to touch a little bit on the purpose of this event. Our mission today is clear, ladies, and I see there's a few gentlemen out there. Our mission today is clear: to spark a meaningful dialogue on AI's transformative potential and its challenges, while equipping students, professionals, and leaders with insights to navigate this dynamic industry. As we reflect on 3 decades of progress, we look ahead to harnessing technology to craft inclusive narratives, empower communities, and inspire future trailblazers, and that is you, right? Now, let us engage with curiosity, with humility, and a shared commitment to shaping a media landscape that reflects our diverse voices and values. I know that Dr. Vatiswa Zamkaka introduced our speakers, but I'm going to do it one more time as requested. We have in the house, and I want to see a lot of excitement, right? Because they took their time to be here to empower you, to share their insights. Please, a big round of applause for Ms. Bongiwe Zwane. So she's going to be driving the panel discussion. And another big round of applause to Ms. Lizelle Self. Ms. Pamela Madonsela is in the house. And Ms. Atsi Geleva. Our very own Dr. Maria Mushatoni. And Ms. Atyandiwe Saba. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I would like now to invite Ms. Bongiwe. I adore her. Oh my God. The confidence, eh? You know, it just, oh my God. I'm getting shivers down my spine, but now I'm so excited and we're so proud to have you here at the Tshwane University of Technology. Over to you.
Hello, guys. I'm seeing so many familiar faces. How are you all? It's so good to see you again. Is it not good to see me? Manje wayimilele. How? Is it not good to see us? We're so excited to see you. How many of you were at the mentoring session? I am so great. Like, I'm seeing these faces. Have you done anything about what we spoke about? Felicity, I'm eyeing you. Have we done anything about what we spoke about? Have you put it to action? Because today I'm taking it a step higher. Remember, I did say the steps, right? In this thing. So we're taking it a step higher. we taking it a step higher or shall we go home? Decide, girls, decide. What are we doing? Are we taking it a step higher or are we going home? So, okay, if we're taking it a step higher, I'm expecting to see people who are awake, or do you need coffee? You need coffee? Bear with me, you'll get coffee. If you're not awake, you're not getting coffee. So, my name is Bongi Wazwane. For those who don't know me, thank you so much for joining us. It's such a privilege to be in your company. You know, it's always amazing to speak to the minds that are coming into the industry, because we get to rely on you guys to move the needle again, you know? And as I speak to you, just before I get to the panel discussion, I want to ask you, if you can, make some time to read a very interesting paper that was released by a colleague of ours. In fact, Atandi was part of it, which speaks about something we've been shying away from talking about for a very long time. And I'm glad somebody actually put it to pen and paper. It's titled, What It Means to Be a Black African Woman, Navigating South African Newsrooms, by Bongekile Maquphe. That is what we have been scared to talk about for a very long time publicly. And Ati, the other Atandiwe, thank you for being part of it, because you've actually vocalized certain things we've always wanted to speak about, but we never got the chance to talk about it. We were so caught up in the movement of trying to change, but we're not vocalizing how painful it is and the cost, right? The cost for them to come in. I'm actually getting teary-eyed because it's that deep. The cost that we've had to pay for you to come into an industry that can see you. And I don't mean an industry that can see you as a woman, but an industry that can see you as a black woman. That's what we fight for. And dare you let that go. Because there are many others who are looking to you to say, can you see us? Not to say, can you see that I'm a woman, therefore push me, but can you see that I'm black to begin with? And because I am black, I come with certain things that you regard as complications, right? So you need to make the playing fields level for everyone. We are not here to just have a conversation. We're here to change a mindset. That what is black is not cheap. What is black is not disdain. And dare you be black and be a woman. So I'm here to tell all of you here, you are valid, says one. So read that paper, and you read it with an understanding of what has been done by those before us, those who are here with us, those who are going to leave this industry and leave it in your hands. So journalism cannot die in the hands of some of you who are going into it. And by dying, I mean it cannot die in your hands where you stop fighting for certain things. The fight continues. The Bible says it's a good fight because you are fighting for people who are going unseen to be seen. So do read this paper, because as we speak today, we're speaking in the context of being an African woman in a media space. You are at the table because there's something we want to get from you, hear from you. You are not at the table because somebody did you a favor. So we need to stop looking at each other as if we've done each other favors, right? Thank you. That said, that was quite the opening, wasn't it? Yeah. I can be very quiet. People often think I don't have a lot to say because I quietly observe things. But it's a lot, you know, I'm what you call a silent fighter. I can sit in a room with people I know are against us. But for me, it's important to sit and understand their mindset as to what is the problem, so that we get to a point where they understand that we are not here to fight. We simply are saying we are here. Therefore, respect us. We are here. We are not here to disrespect you. We are just here. Deal with all of it. Right? So, yeah, I'm going to move on. I am going to have a fireside chat. And there's, okay. Imagine a fireplace. So have that in your head. Fireplace, cups of, what do you ladies like to drink? Hot chocolate? Okay, a cup of coffee, hot chocolate. I love rooibos tea, so we all have it in our hands, right? Do you have a roving mic? Yes, no, no, yes, no. Roving mic, yes. Please, may I have one? Because I'd like to move a little bit. While you prepare that, I'm so sorry. I'm that moderator that always gives people a headache. I think of things as I stand. Forgive me. Thank you in advance. So, what we're going to talk about is women in media, the experience there. It's not a long discussion, forgive me. I could have the whole day, but it's just 15 minutes. But what we want to do in these 15 minutes is to make sure that you at least get as much, just a little bit of an insight, but as much of it as possible, as little as it is. So I'm going to have in this side chat with me, Liesel Surf, who's with the GCIS, you've seen her, as well as Pamela Madonzela with the MDDA. So we'll be sharing with you insights on women in government communications. Who here wants to go to government communications? How many? You must come, so I do some interviews with you. Have you ever seen me interview government spokespeople? I'm always nice to them. I am. Is it on? I am, guys. What do you mean, no? Is it on? How do I switch it on? Because I'm trying to press, nothing. Okay, you let me know when we're good to go with it. Thank you. Let's try it. Can you hear me? Perfect. Now I can move around. Hey, there's restrictions. You know, it's like COVID. Can't move, can't go anywhere. So this is what I want to do. I want to see them and see you. So, you said how many want to go to government comms? Was Pagamsen gahle, like literally lift your hands. Are you not confident you want to go there? You still thinking about it, or you not? How many of you? Are you 4, 5? Ningaki. I want to see you clearly, because at the end of this chatting, if you still want to go, do you want, how many of you want to go to government comms? Right, Nginbonil. After this, tell me if you still want to go. Anywho, moving right along. Liesel, hello. How are you? Good, good. Pamela, what's the one thing you love about your job?
It's getting to interact with community media on a daily basis.
Community media. What does community media do for you as a professional?
You find newsroom in the heart of communities, and most of them are not influenced by politics. They just tell the real story that you want to hear. So getting people to tell the real stories that are happening on the ground, that's motivational.
Ms. Willene, real stories. Liesel, what do you love about your job? One thing. One thing. Only one. And tell me, if you want to say those parliamentarians when they're throwing things at each other, so be it. What's the one thing you love about your job? Switch your mic on.
As a former media practitioner or journalist, like myself, I was in journalism for about 15 years myself before entering government communication. A lot of people ask me why I decided to go to government communication, and that answers your question. It is having the ability to interpret government information as information that can create economic pathways for myself, communities that we serve every single day. That information is all empowering and all encompassing. And coming from a high-stakes environment like Parliament, where information goes through those networks of, or power networks, it's very difficult to try and interpret that information into palatable information that can serve communities. And that is what I love.
I was going to ask you about that. How do you do it? Because I'm sure some of you will agree with me, right? We watch some of what happens in Parliament in those committees and everything, and we're thinking, hey, how am I supposed to decipher all of this now and make it matter to all of us, right? How do you do it?
Well, we do it through a range of stakeholders, one being the media. The Press Gallery Association that is in Parliament are there to service or to basically write stories on policy information. So it's about, in a nutshell, it's about simplifying highly complex information so that the ordinary person can understand. I come from a broadcast background. I entered in the media environment as early as 1997, and I was taught during that time to take a 3-hour-long conversation in a portfolio committee and dissect it into a 1.5-minute broadcast story.
Yeah.
Now you need to know, how do you do that? And that is how complex information, government information, and Bongiwe will attest to that also, she has to do it every single day. You know, those discussions. And the question is, what does it mean that you need to answer as a journalist is, what does it mean to ordinary people out there when, for instance, the NHI bill is being passed in Parliament? Does it give them the financial freedom now to access healthcare in a certain way? Now, on the flip side of government communication, now again, and that is why I went to government communication, is to transfer some of those skills that I've honed during broadcast media of complex information, simplifying it, is taking those lessons to government communication and saying, yeah, we have government information, how do we simplify it for ordinary citizens? How does it benefit ordinary
So
citizens?
basically, one of the most intelligent people in the room, because, whoa, I sit through the committees daily. Ne? Hey, Lord have mercy. Pamela, EMDDA, one would ask, because you spoke a little bit about how you mingle with communities. I envy that every day. Marwenzan,
Okay.
what do you do?
I'm a project coordinator under the print units. So the MDDA is an agency which reports to GCIS, where we fund community media, which is broadcast, online, and print, with funds to be able to print, to be able to get studios, because we know that there are limited funds in the community media space. So we try give you that free, not free will, but we try to give you that financial freedom for a year or so, to say that we're going to fund you for your stipends, for your printing, because we know that there are high printing costs for a year, and then you can fly by yourselves. But the main challenges that we have when you're funding community media, we'll find that the same publication will apply for the 2025, 2026, and they come back again. So sustainability is a challenge to community media. So we're trying to also offer trainings, that is non-financial support that the MDD offers, to say, how do you make yourself sustainable? We've given you funds for the year, but we don't want you coming back every year. We want to see you being able to stand on your own, being able to get ads, and being able to, run a business. So that's what we do on a daily basis. I focus on the print sector. We oversee them and guide them throughout the year that we are funding them.
Okay. You thought you could get away from me, ne? I'm here. Hello. She's not only my friend, guys, but I'm about to hijack her. Hi. How are you?
Oh, great.
Yes. What do you do?
Great.
Tell us.
What do I do?
Yes. You didn't think I'm coming, ne? There we go. I'm here.
I thought we were going to chat like later about other stuff.
I'm here.
What do
you
I do? Well, currently I run a team of forensic analysts, and we look at 26 different African countries and how people talk about politics, LGBTQI issues, how they talk about climate and the disinformation that happens online. So we investigate that. We see how external countries, like your China, your Russia, are trying to influence what conversations you guys are having online. And I also starting out an AI newsroom initiative as well at this organization called Code for Africa. And we help to train newsrooms in how to be sustainable in the time of generative artificial intelligence. We train them how to be the best investigators, how to use open source intelligence tools to investigate and find out what's happening in their specific countries. And as I said, 26 different African countries. So I do quite a bit.
Quite
To
a bit
answer your
indeed.
question.
So tell me, because we're in an interesting era, right? I've been the subject of quite a number of false advertising, AI-generated things. And always the big question is, how do we find out who is behind this? How do you drive, the narrative that this is not true, don't invest your money in this is not what I said. The other day I was being said to be endorsing some political party.
Oh yeah, we've written about you. Oh, we've written about you in our reports. We've found that you are pushing all kinds of scams.
Guys, it's not true. I'm not pushing scams. It's AI.
No,
but how do we do that? Because I mean, they're going into an industry, right, where they might find themselves part of it. They might find themselves with their voices and their videos being used to promote certain things. How do you begin to make sense of that? Fight that, if you can, even?
So I think that's one of the challenges as a kind of tech civic organization that we are trying to deal with and battle with quite a bit. Our biggest thing is to consistently be investigating what's happening online by finding out, okay, cool, with AI, there are these kinds of videos. And we usually build tools where people can either call into our helpline or text or ask our disinformation kind of platform, is this real? What's going on here? And we offer trainings as well. I think a lot of the work that goes into what we do outside of the actual investigations and writing the reports, which you can find on disinfo.africa, aside of that, the training as well. I think a lot of people are not aware how much AI can make things look so real. And it's not even just about the space, the online spaces. It's about actual governments in Africa being destabilized based on some of these narratives. So there's so much that happens online, but it's about educating people first and then having platforms where people can engage and ask the questions and also trying to fight back. Because the more we flag a lot of the stuff that Bongiwe is talking about, more and more people are able to say, okay, actually I need to stop and think and check if this is real or not.
And, just as you say that, I'm going back to the other side of the panel, because, Liesl, it's important, right, as you communicate, that we communicate the truth, what is factual. Like Pamela says, we need to make sure that people know the real story, not a propagated story, right? So how then do you do it to make sure that the information you disseminate, right, is actually finding its way through to the person on the ground in its credible form? It's not twisted, it's not changed. That when it gets to Gogo Mkabela in Kwamhlabia Lingana, to Mama so and so in Atteridgeville, it's still what Parliament had actually put out and it's not distorted.
I think from the perspective of GCIS runs a network of information, not only information disseminators, but a network that tries to enable, or basically, it's an enabling agency. So it enables citizens, ordinary citizens, to participate in democracy, basically, through government information. So we've got a network, an operational network that exists in all provinces. So we've got GCIS offices in all provinces. They have got services for people's information needs, and I won't really delve into that. What I think is very important is that the legitimacy of sources, particularly government sources, I wouldn't say is under attack, but it's been called into question. The legitimacy of our sources based on the fact that there is a breakdown or there's a trust deficit right now that exists in our democracy between maybe government and its citizens. Do citizens actually trust government? And we are at the stage now in our democracy and in government communication where we need to reflect on some of the mechanisms that we need to put in place to try and build up that social contract and that social trust
Yeah.
between government, which is your source, and then the citizens itself.
Speaking about government and sources, I'm standing right in front of someone who's very interesting. Quite like her, love her. And the work she does, ne? I can see what she's tried to do these days. Speaking about that, she's countering certain things and putting them up on social media, saying, here's the truth, here's the what, here's the in.
Yes.
And this from the mouth of the highest office in the
Yes.
land. Hello, Artie. How are you? Good, good. Is it on? Is it on? No. Let's try again. There we go. Try.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Okay.
Ati, let's speak about the importance of that, because sometimes, I often say that in a time when information is so much, reading becomes a scarce skill, and people put out the first thing they see Atandiwe say or I say, and they take it as the gospel truth. What is the importance of, because I've seen you deliberately do this, what is the importance of putting it out there from the mouth of either the president or anyone you are following at the time? Yes, you follow the president a lot, but I've also seen you do it with other topical stories to say, here is actually what is being said.
Thank you very much. I work in digital communications, part of the government communications machinery, and one of the biggest challenges that we've been confronted with the proliferation of social media is fake news and disinformation and misinformation. I'm sure you'll all recall from the time that we were confronted with the pandemic, COVID-19, 2020, that's when you would see that it was quite emphasized that there are bad actors across these platforms. I think Ati, made reference to the fact that there are people who are interfering with our national discourse. And I think that as communicators, it becomes quite critical for us to be able to provide information that is accurate, to be able to position ourselves as a primary source for credible government information. With fake news, it's becoming more and more difficult to be able to detect because of AI and these other technologies. You were making an example in terms of scams. On a daily basis, I get a lot of these scams across various platforms using the face and the likeness of the president. Before, you could sort of tell that, okay, this is AI. But increasingly, as we're advancing in these technologies, the voice becomes similar, like the fake is deep. The voice is becoming similar. They're able to, have those facial expressions, and they're able to steal your identity for problematic messaging. And I think that it's important for us as communicators to be at the forefront of ensuring that we are the primary sources of that information. And at any given point in time, we should be able to educate our various audiences in terms of how to interact with information that they get across platforms. Like, for example, during COVID, people were saying, like I was at home, Tanzania in the Eastern Cape, and people say, if it comes via WhatsApp, it's credible. That's their only form of verification. So you remember during COVID, there were those voice notes that were going around. So for them, they would panic, they would go and, buy a lot of things, or, there would be a lot of misinformation that was aimed at, interfering with our messaging in terms of responding to the crisis. But I think we need to prioritize educating audiences in terms of how to interact with these platforms, and also educate them and create that awareness around AI and what it seeks to do, and the fact that the conversations that are happening online are not necessarily just you and I talking. There's a lot of interference and bad actors that are hoping to disrupt our democratic order. So we need to develop that level of consciousness.
Before I let you go, let's talk about how difficult was it to do that, because, for example, I'm somebody that is always skeptical of social media, and you've managed to kind of sway a lot of us into saying, oh, it's possible. But one wonders, was it easy to do it, particularly for an institution like the presidency, to, put it out there for people, and because we know sometimes how governments can be conservative, but you've done it in such a way that it's made it personal for us.
No, not easy, but I think necessary. I've been in government communications for a long time, and when I started social media, like maybe many of you in the room, it was just a nice thing to do. You could connect with your friends, you could download your favorite music, and I had an idea that, why not use the power of social media to advance the messages, that we have to put out there to our audiences and connect with our audiences as government, as opposed to it just being a social media. And from then, my interest grew, and I think my fundamental belief is that as communicators, we have a role and a responsibility to find out, to know as much about our audience as possible, and to find out where they are, what their communication preferences are, and follow them. So hence, social media. Even with TikTok, the presidency isn't necessarily on the TikTok platform, but the audience, we wanting to talk to young people and talk to young people in a language that, they understand. We want them to interact with government content in some shape, way, or form. And part of what I try to do as well is that I'm not a social media expert, nor am I an AI expert, but I think it's a learning curve. So, it's about experimentation, and it's about looking at what works. TikTok is a lot of soft content, and I think Lisa also raised the issue of trust deficit.
Yeah.
So I think that in terms of the messengers, we need to, I think the more humanized our communications are, the more likely the message is likely to land. So part of what you try to do is to just humanize the messengers themselves, so that you are able to then transport the message. I think it's an exciting space. There's quite a lot of developments, and I think that we should not necessarily limit ourselves to what we understand from a traditional media perspective, but look at how we can incorporate new technologies and innovate to ensure that, there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of content out there. There's many different social media platforms, there's many different, everyone is competing for your attention. So I think that what we try to do is to ensure that we become the primary source of information with regards to what the president is doing, and as part of countering fake news. Part of what I try to advocate is the fact that we must provide that leadership. So if the president is engaging in a public engagement, you must hear it first from credible sources. So that's why I follow the president, so that then I maintain, so that you are able to have a source of verification to say, someone is saying this, and then you can go onto a platform of the president's, whether it's an owned media platform or a social media platform, and be able to get credible, up-to-date and accurate information in terms of the program.
I've always described it as a disruption, a good disruption.
Thank you.
Because if I see you with the phone, I'm like, hey guys, all she does, she has the phone next to the president. How do we even get there? But what it has done is that it has even taught us as media practitioners to say, you know what, if the camera operator is still on the other side, I can quickly get a sound bite from the president here as it's happening, send it through to the office, and you can use that. So do you see how it's changing? It's not just about you actually having the physical camera, although it's important, but in a moment when your colleague is stuck on the other side, your phone can actually do this, and you can disseminate correct information. Pamela, we're gonna start winding down. So for you, when you look at communities, because I often myself, I worry about the fact that when you engage in the communities and you are engaging these radio stations that speak to people, do they feel that, and I ask this from the perspective of the stations, do they feel that they play a role? Because at times, you find that when we get into a press conference, there's maybe a journalist, let's say from a community radio or a community television station, they see themselves sometimes as inferior. But do they realize the big work that they actually do as the interface of their communities with the news that is out there?
I think the fact that we still have them, they do know that they play an important role, and they do play an important role to inform campaigns. They would have a budget spent to communicate their big messages with local radio stations, with local newspapers, because you'd find that in a rural, in Nkandla, no offense to Nkandla, but you'd find that there's no network. People don't have access to the smartphone, so the radio station is still their primary source of getting information. Where are we voting? Where are we getting our vaccinations? Even the local newspapers, so they do play an important role, even though they will feel inferior with the big media houses who pouch them at some time. They do pouch them when they see the talent, but they do understand that they do play a critical role in their communities and they need to exist. Speaking of the digital, I am not against it, but there are still communities that do not have network, don't have smartphones, so the radio stations, your newspapers still play an important role in being the source of the primary news. So yeah.
And it's amazing you mentioned that, because we can all progress so much, but then we
Yes.
leave behind some of those. I mean, Ati speaks about people who say, what's on WhatsApp is the truth, because that's for them is another step. But for us, we've moved 10 steps ahead. So, as I wind down, I'm going to ask three of you, Ati, Pamela, Lizo, you. I'm going to let go of my friend for now. So I'm going to ask you one question. As women, in the spaces you are in, how important is it to lift up others so that you are not the only face, you're not the only woman at the table, but there's more?
I think that is a very important question. Without other women, we are not able to reach our full potential of our womanhood within a professional environment. Now again, we can't do it with men. We have to do it with each other. I think one of the biggest structural barriers that we have at the moment in our industry is that we don't have our own networks of mentorship and, coaching. Amongst ourselves, and obviously to share the generational knowledge or wisdom of being in an industry of public communication like myself for more than 25 years. I would love to sit down and I would love to sit down with young people. I love young people. I've got a 26-year-old daughter myself and a 19-year-old daughter. I've been raising young women all my life. Okay, so not all my life, but when I was 20, so I'm completely surrounded, but we do not have the formal institutional networks that we require to have 30 years into democracy to try and break down some of the very, very important or very ingrained structural barriers that exist in our industry right now. The old boys club. Yeah. Now again. Your VC mentioned various barriers, cyberbullying of women, body shaming online. When are we going to get together as women and create our own association of women in media? It is time, We do not need to, remember, we've got these press clubs, we've got these press associations, but they come with a legacy of deeply entrenched institutional structural barriers that are against women's prosperity. That is the truth. So in those situations that you find yourself in your future, and even here in your environment at TUT, nothing stops you from formalizing networks of encouragement, sharing of wisdom, generational wisdom networks like ourselves. We can call ourselves the elders right now, 30 years in, covering democracy and so forth. We are your elders. We would love to connect with you and formalize those networks and those relationships. Yeah.
Sure, I love that. Yes, guys, we do. I saw your eyes popping when she mentioned at 20-something, 19 and all of that. We do have kids that old. Myself, Nje, I have one who's 23. Yes, Pamela, I do. 23, 19, and 13. Yes? Go ahead. I am that old.
Okay, guys, I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. Not 19.
Uyabona, yes, sisi. Siyakuba, ngena, sifuna 3 more.
You sound like the old woman from KZN.
Enkandla.
When are you having the next one? No more kids. I think as women, the day we stop seeing each other as competition is the day where we'll be able to hold each other's hands and elevate together. I think I had the conversation with Bongo earlier on to say that when we are in high places, when we're in high positions, as women you tend to see the others as juniors, and you are just sitting in your high chair, and Pam doesn't matter because she's a junior. But once we have that open door policy to say, if you're the CEO, a junior like Pam can come to you and say, CEO, I have this master's assignment. How can I do it? Because you've walked that journey. So take me along as well. I think that to not see each other as competition, and to just see me as your sister and not see me as, or see me as your daughter. If you were 23-year-old, see me as your daughter. How would you want another woman to treat your daughter in the workspace? So I think the day where we change our mentality, and there's a push Down syndrome that women have, and we speak a lot about that as if it's a nice thing. It's not a nice thing. We need to fix each other's crowns as women, and yeah, let's grow together. As cool, must kupuga in song, because once we're there, we'll sizokhuphula abanye futhi. So that's that. So thank you.
Sure, that is so important. Ati?
I don't think that I have much to add. I think that the sentiment has been encapsulated. But I do want to say that I come from a tradition and culture of strong women. And there's never been a time where I was told that there's something that I can do, there's something that I cannot do, by virtue of the fact that I'm a woman. And throughout my career, I've also been lucky enough to work with women who were my seniors, who actually, the experience that Pam is referring to now with regards to, the pull-down syndrome, women fighting for space, in the workplace, backstabbing each other. I haven't had that experience. And I think that it's important for women to really be there for each other, whether it's by way of mentorship and providing support. And as young people who are going to be going into, the workplace, I think that it's important to identify women, that resonate with you, maybe whose careers, career paths that you'd like, to follow, and build relationships with them, and, request them to, I get a lot of requests, from young people sometimes across social media who reach out to me and they say, I would like you, to talk to me about the work that you do. I've seen what you do and I'm interested in following this career path. And I do agree, again, with Liesl that we need to look at structured mentorship programs in the workplace to support young women in terms of the paths that they want to follow. I would love to do mentorship. I don't have the time because I'm always on the road, but it's something that I'm really passionate about, young Black women and them reaching, their full capacity. Look at you, I'm excited to see you guys, smart, beautiful, we work hard. There is literally nothing that should stand in the way of young women reaching their full potential. And another thing in the workplace is to bring yourself in your fullness. There is nothing about your Blackness offering. We can't all be the same person. We can't all have one contribution. So everybody has got a contribution that they can make wherever they are. And I think that it's important to trust and believe in yourself and have a deep understanding and a sense of your identity and who you are and how you can harness that to become, whatever it is that you want to be in the workplace. Thanks.
Side, not mine. I'm almost done. But as I end off this conversation, I hope you've been able to glean from what we've said to you as much as possible. Just like Ati, I was raised in a community of strong Black women, grew up in an industry of a multiracial world for me, where each and every single race played a role to getting me where I am, and it was women, also men, and also now even in my career, I still have men, I still have women who continue to support. So why, for us, the fight is important is that you don't have to experience it to fight it. When you see it, fight it, because it means that, yes, you are blessed to have it easy, yeah? But another person is not, and it doesn't mean you turn a blind eye to their fight. So this community we speak about should even start here. That as you see each other, whether you see a struggle, whether you see whatever in your peer, reach out to help. Because that's how you are cultivating this particular trait of getting into the workplace and seeing a woman that needs you, and you don't see them as top down, but you see a colleague that you can help. You see a woman whose crown you can fix. You see a woman who is feeling down and doesn't believe in herself, and you realize that I can lift you up because today my cup is full. So I always want you to be cognizant of each other everywhere you are. Somebody could use your motivation. And I hope that you are going to take everything that we've shared with you today, mull over it, and think of what kind of professionals you want to be. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A big round of applause for Bongi. No, that's not enough. A big round of applause for Bongi. Yay! Thank you so much. She's such a fresh breath of air. You know, with her, you always, you know, from any conversation you have with her, you always are inspired. So thank you so much, and for taking the time to inspire. You feel inspired, right? Yes. Thank you so much. I'm going to invite Ati back. It's either you can speak from there or just in front, you know, to speak about not so much AI, because you did highlight that you're not much of an expert there, but you are in these digital spaces, and we look up to you when it comes to that. Maybe to speak to, you know, our students regarding the work that you do, the challenges that you face, the risks, what they can learn from that. A big round of applause for her, please.
Thank you so much. I've already been introduced, but maybe just do it again for those that may not have been here. My name is Ati Geleba. My full name is Ati Ngwanya Mampondomise Geleba. I come from the Eastern Cape, but I've been based in Gauteng for a number of years now. I work in the Presidency of the Republic of South Africa, and I am responsible for digital communications. But I've been doing communications for a number of years, but all government communications, but over the last couple of years, I've had a strong focus on digital communications. So I'm invited today to make a case for leveraging artificial intelligence to shape government communications and promote public engagement. But again, just to emphasize that quick disclaimer, I'm not an AI expert, but I think that my experience in government communications, and particularly in digital media, has also given me a foundational understanding of what AI is and the power that AI has and what it can do for us. Maybe we can just see by a show of hands, people who say here in the room that they've interacted in some way, shape, or form with artificial intelligence. Anyone? I don't think you want to mention ChatGPT. In fact, I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine. He sent me a link. He's the spokesperson to the president with regards to all these AI tools that are out there. And one of them was saying that, you know, unlike ChatGPT, you can actually, you know, work and it's even when you take it through verification systems, it's not able to detect that you've used AI. So that's where we're going. So I think that poses a challenge for higher learning institutions in terms of what we are going to do with AI. So I think that AI is both exciting for us and it's also an inevitable development, and it's important for all of us to be part of the conversation. So I'm not here because I'm an AI expert. I'm here because I think that it's important for all of us to be part of the conversation because it impacts our lives in some way, shape, or form. It's transforming the way that we live, it's transforming the way that we work, and it's also transforming the way that we communicate, and in very fundamental ways. So there's recent research that's been led by Google, and it reminds us that Africa's AI future, it must be grounded in the realities of the communities that we come from. It must be accessible, it must be compatible, and it must be relevant. It must also help us in terms of solving the challenges that we're confronted with in terms of public health, in social development, in education, and also in our economy. It must be ethical. You know, there's a big issue in terms of the ethics of AI, but it needs to be rooted in our value systems. It must also hold the sovereignty of our data. So data sovereignty also becomes quite a critical issue given the fact that you're inputting a lot of your personal information into these tools. But it must also, in its design, be inclusive. So it should follow that the potential impact of AI in government communications would be significant in that it can help us with enhancing accessibility of our messaging. It can also help us with improving operational efficiencies and improve our ability to respond in real time and effectively to service delivery challenges. And I'm not sure here, I think earlier they asked if any of you are keen in terms of going into government communications. And I think it was less than 10 people. It was less than 10 people. And I hope that you do have a reconsideration in terms of joining the public service and particularly government communications. If we don't make it look exciting, I think that you are the generation that can make it look exciting because of, you know, artificial intelligence. But as government communicators, we are an integral part of the conversation around artificial intelligence because government communications is at the heart of accountability of our democracy. Government communicators are the ones that enable citizens to access information, to participate in governance. We are a participatory democracy. To promote transparency and to hold public representatives accountable. And all of these values are enshrined and they're protected in our Constitution. So today, I'm talking about the role that AI can play in terms of digital content creation, how it can enhance government communication, and the risks and the opportunities that are presented by AI for communicators. But before we get into that, I wanted to just give a brief reflection in terms of where we are as a country, in terms of our state of readiness to incorporate AI. The International Labour Organization launched the Future of Work initiative some years back. It was a global project aimed at analyzing how technological advancements, globalization, demographics, climate change will reshape the labor market by 2030. It put emphasis on decent work, on skills development and social protection in the era of digital transformation and automation. And South Africa, through the president, joined the High-Level Commission on the Future of Work as a co-chair in 2018. The responsibility there was to oversee the preparation of a report that was launched in 2019 with a declaration for the future of work that was adopted by member states, calling for country policies to ensure that no one is left behind. The African Union also endorsed the Continental AI Strategy in 2024, underscoring Africa's commitment to an Afrocentric, development-focused approach to artificial intelligence, promoting ethical, responsible, and equitable practices. The strategy on AI of the continent aims to strengthen regional, continental, and global cooperation and position the continent as a leader in inclusive and responsible AI. South Africa has also acknowledged that AI is here, and that is what is fundamentally changing how we work. The president launched the Fourth Industrial Revolution Presidential Commission that was tasked with shaping South Africa's response to the Fourth Industrial Revolution. It was chaired by the president and comprised of industry experts, academics, government, and labor, and this report was released in 2020. The work of that commission has seen the establishment of the AI Institute. It has influenced budget allocations, such as, for example, making funding available for digital skills training through the Department of Higher Education and Training. South Africa does have a national AI policy framework, and it was finalized by the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies in 2024, and it provides us with a roadmap for ethical, inclusive AI adoption and a step towards a comprehensive national strategy. The framework also aims to harness the transformative potential of AI to ensure South Africa's growth, to improve public service efficiencies, and also to promote inclusive development. It also identifies a number of strategic pillars, including talent and infrastructure development, ethical guidelines, which are quite important, the privacy and protection of our data. It promotes transparency, fairness, and a human-centered AI. There is a discussion in terms of the extent to which we are integrating AI. Are we going to get to a point where AI becomes in charge of us as opposed to us being in charge of AI? But the framework really sets the stage for legislation that will position us as a leader in AI on the continent. So what are the challenges and the risks when it comes to AI? You know, as we are moving into a data-driven era, you know, the traditional forms of government communication are facing increasing disruption. I'm sure you'll see, you know, you've seen with the rise, you know, of social media platforms, we are no longer communicating in the traditional way that we used to. We've had to incorporate social media. Actually, they've become an integral part of our overall communication strategy. So AI presents both an opportunity for us, but also a significant risk in terms of our communication. There's risk of job displacement. There's risk of increased unemployment, the widening digital divide, which also, you know, risks further exclusion of our rural and poor communities. Ethical concerns remain significant. AI carries the potential for bias, for misinformation, disinformation. In the earlier discussion, we talked a little bit with regards to that. Fake news, the misuse of our data, and a loss of public trust if it's not properly regulated. And AI content can blur the line between what is authentic communication and what is manipulated disinformation. Like I had indicated earlier, fake news has become a part of our lives, and we have to consider that it's something that we have to deal with in how we communicate. But also, AI brings with it a number of opportunities. You know, it can help us in terms of streamlining our work, enhancing public engagement, delivering comprehensive and accurate information to our audiences, but also personalized communication that can improve our interactions and engagements and ultimately strengthen public trust. Cost is another factor. It can be initially expensive for us to integrate AI, but we do need to weigh this against the long-term savings and the long-term benefits that we gain in terms of productivity and impact. And in terms of, you know, digital content creation, there's already a number of tools that are on the market that can, you know, turn around things in a much shorter time when we're creating digital assets. Like right now, we have to, you know, produce everything manually, like our media alerts, our press releases, speeches, graphic design, all of our digital assets. And incorporating AI can also help us, you know, in terms of ensuring that we focus less on the operational, you know, aspects and more on the strategic aspects of our work. But I think what is important is that AI must be human-led, because tools and technologies don't have a lived experience. They don't have the cultural nuance. They don't have the emotional intelligence. So these are qualities that are essential to ensure that there's authentic and impactful storytelling. It can also help us in terms of language and accessibility. We have 12 official languages, and it can help us in terms of ensuring that we create content that is multilingual, that promotes inclusivity, and that is accessible. For example, we are going to be hosting the G20 in November, and a number of countries are going to be here, so our website is in English. So we can incorporate AI tools into ensuring that we're able to get content in local languages, but we're also able to translate it to international languages. The President publishes a newsletter every Monday morning. Hopefully all of you read that newsletter. It's published in English, and currently it takes us, I would say, about 3 days to get it translated into the 4 major language groups. But with AI, we can actually get those translations in real time. Chatbots, these can also improve access to government services. You know, like you'll see with the Home Affairs website, with SARS, with our COVID-19 response, that we're actually able to increase and enhance our responsiveness and efficiency. It can also help us in terms of analyzing sentiment and feedback, because one of the criticisms that we often face as government communicators is that our messaging, especially across social media platforms, is one-directional, and that we don't respond to issues that are raised. So we are always broadcasting. We are always, you know, talking at you. So, for example, you can imagine just in the presidency alone, across social media platforms and our own media platforms, we probably have about 10 million unique users. So you can imagine the kind of capacity that would be required for one to be responsive on those platforms. So we can look at platforms, tools of citizen engagement that we can incorporate to ensure that government is responsive and is also able to resolve queries that we get in real time. It can also help us with crisis communications. I made reference to the national response on COVID-19 in 2020. And AI really helped us in terms of scaling our communication efforts. The President directed the Interministerial Committee to integrate AI as part of our overall COVID strategy with, for example, institutions like the CSIR working together with the Department of Science and Innovation, developing a data dashboard to help us in terms of managing the pandemic. So there was also a plan to ensure that we integrate AI in our economic recovery plans post-COVID to ensure that there was support for those that were adversely affected through the SRD grant and also through the support for small businesses. I'm sure you will have also seen with regards to climate change, floods in KZN, floods in Eastern Cape. If we integrate AI, it can help us save lives in terms of ensuring that we're able to issue geolocated alerts to warn the people in a particular area that there's going to be floods or that they need to vacate those areas. It can also help us as well with regards to processing data, with regards to our research. And what I think I want to say about how we can leverage AI as government communications is that we need a digital public service. And we need transformation of the public sector capacity. If we want to deliver services that are fit for the 21st century, we need 21st century government communications leadership. And as government communicators, and indeed the entire public service actually, we cannot afford to be left behind. We need to be leading the transformation. We need the policy execution. We currently do have the framework, but we must implement policies and not just write them. We need practical training in digital transformation for communicators and for public servants, and we also need to start integrating AI into our systems and our workflows. And I think that there's going to come a time where the proficiency of AI is going to be a baseline requirement for everyone in the workplace. In fact, even as students, AI is going to, need to be part of the work that you are doing. Even as higher learning institutions, they must respond in terms of the threats that come with AI. If all the students are using AI tools for their assignments, what are the ethical implications? What are exams going to look like in 5 years' time with the incorporation of AI? I mean, today, literally, there was a friend of mine yesterday. I was like, no, I'm doing this address. And he's like, don't worry. And then goes to ChatGPT and was like, I can produce, let me produce, something for you. And indeed, within 5 minutes, they send something, they're like, yeah, look at this. You see, I've done it. So you can talk to me on the phone. And, it's going to be a growing challenge, for institutions in terms of how they're going to be dealing with AI. Jobs are not going to look the same. A speechwriter, should a speechwriter be using AI tools in the drafting of speeches? No. Yeah, so it's a debate. Like for example, you'll have someone, who a speechwriter, they use an AI tool and they give you a speech and they don't declare. So what are those ethical considerations? It's going to be difficult as we go forward to say, no, speechwriters cannot use AI. What is going to be your capacity to verify that? How are you going to be able to tell? Should we rather say that perhaps we can consider that they can use AI for particular functions like communications research? Doing research is time consuming. And perhaps they might want to consider using AI tools for that research, but I think the issue of transparency, we should be able to declare to people that, we've used AI tools. I think that maybe if can we partner with, like tech companies that can we partner with, like tech companies that we can partner with that already have these advanced technologies, or even look at CSIR to say, for example, one of the issues, that I always think about with regards to how we respond as government is that our communications platforms are not integrated. So, for example, I don't know you guys who's on X or Twitter. They've introduced the AI, tool, which is Grok. I'm not sure if you have interacted with it, but basically what Grok does is like almost a real-time fact check, and you are able to ask Grok in any language on any item in any part of the world, and it's able to give you a response in real time. So maybe considering that government creates a similar type of platform that is able to aggregate all government content that is online across the different levels, whether it's local government, provincial government, national government, so that if a citizen has an issue, you then are able to respond in real time, looking at all that information that's available. Currently, if you're online on Google and you're searching a particular, or if you're on a government website and you want certain information, unless that information is on that particular website, you're unlikely to get it via search. So to what extent do you want to integrate all of our platforms to ensure that there's one government that's able to communicate information 24 hours a day? So I think that the issue of transparency becomes key. Those are conversations that we need to have in terms of the extent to which we can integrate AI and look at those ethical considerations. And I think that platforms like today become important because it's about creating awareness. We're all in a learning process. And it's about creating awareness to say that this thing is here. Whether you're aware of it or you are not aware of it, AI is impacting your life in some way. You are already using AI. If you're on social media, there's AI integration. If you're accessing services, if you're on chatbots, if you're shopping online, there's AI that's integrated. So it's actually going to impact and affect our lives. So I think that it's important for us to deepen our own understanding so that we are prepared, particularly because of the fact that it's Women's Month and there's largely women here. We don't want to be left behind. Like our solutions must come from us. And we're talking about an AI that is Africa-led. Then it means that the apps must come from us. The solutions must come from us. We understand our communities. We understand the challenges that we face. And from a government communications perspective, especially because you are students and going into the future, you need to consider the fact that careers are not what they were 2 years ago. You may have joined thinking that, oh, I want to become a speechwriter, right? And then in 3 years, speechwriters are obsolete. So you need to be agile in terms of how you think about those opportunities to say that, okay, how can I integrate these new technologies to ensure that I stay ahead of the curve. So I think that it's important, and that as women, we should actually identify this opportunity so that we're able to provide that leadership. And I think that it also provides an opportunity for us to transform as government communicators. We can work faster, we can work smarter, we can be more inclusive, and we can deliver information that is accurate, we can deliver it timely, and we can make impact. But I think the goal is simple. We want to build high-performance public service organizations that are able to harness data, that are able to use digital tools, that are able to integrate AI, because what we want to do is to serve society, but deliver real impact. And I think that as communicators, it is us who must lead the change. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ati. And we're going to open the door for questions. Yeah, I see the hands are coming up. Okay, let's start here. You introduce yourself, what you're studying, which department you're coming from, and we take it from there.
Hello, everyone and everybody. My name is Manyelo Beauty, and I'm a master's candidate in applied languages. So what I need, it's not much of a question, but I want to understand, that I want you guys to make everybody understand the importance that language plays in all kinds of work that you do. You've been talking about engaging with communities, and in English. Almost everything is in English, like Osunati just said, that the speech is presented in 4 major languages. What about those other languages? And as for the 12 official languages, okay, I just learned that we're supposed to call it an official language, but not the 12th official language. So as one of the languages, sign language, we had this other interpreter. I don't remember, it was on SABC or, I'm not sure, but you guys remember that sign language, yes. So, one of the news,
Fact-checking here. Fact-checking.
So yes, we need to I need you guys to just elaborate how important language is, what role it plays actually in journalism, in media, and all of that. That's all I need you guys to do.
Shall we answer? Okay. You said your name was? Can I be talking about?
Maputi.
Maputi. Maputi, for me personally, it's like the bare minimum that I can even ask anybody to have. It's the first thing that you need to think of, because I've spent a lot of years as a reporter on the ground. You can't go to Nkhono and start speaking in English. That's disrespectful, because I understand you probably may not know her language, but try, right? Because you are now going to ask her to explain herself and what she's going through in a language she can't articulate, and you'll never get the gist of the story. So because I've crisscrossed the country, going to different places, I would find myself in Thoyando, and I would have to learn to say and learn to say Ndolibu, and then move on to Mpumalanga, where you now have to say to people, Sanbona, Ninjani, and then you get to speak Siswati, you get to speak Sindebele, you get to do all of these things, because a man and a woman who is allowed to speak in their language is able to articulate themselves better. And in my profession, it's critical, because when I interview somebody and I quickly pick up that this person is not able to express themselves, I quickly switch to their language, and I'll translate it for the viewers who cannot understand, because it's important for somebody to feel that they are included. At the same time, Punt, SABC has all the news in all your languages, so feel free to watch. And also, I do Asikhulume Let's Talk. Tuesdays, SABC 1, 9:30, you can watch tonight. So what we do there, we include English, Kodwa, the premium and primary languages are isiNguni. Tonight I'll be reading viewer comments ngeSiswati, right? I've had to learn. And some viewer comments come ngeSindebele, some viewer comments come are important because everybody who's watching deserves to get information. So if I can tell you something, do not look down upon your languages. Uma ukhuluma isiZulu sikhulume with pride. Uma ukhuluma isiNdebele sikhulume. Uma uthetha yenza konke okumele ukwenze because you have to have languages. This is South Africa, and you are not going to go into the world of work and only speak in English. I hope it was clear.
Yeah, you did have a question, right? Oh, okay. Let's go on. You introduce yourself and where you're coming from and shoot.
Okay. My name is Landiwe Manana. I am a part-time lecturer here at Tshwane University of Technology in the, wanted to come to this session because I also run a consultancy business in PR as well as communications. So brief questions. One to Ati as well as Lizo, right? Because it's government communication. How is it that our students can actually be able to apply for careers there? So I just want almost like a practical form. For example, Ati, how did you land up in the job where you are? Because what I find is that our students, they find it difficult in terms of how do I apply? Where do I start? So I've finished, I've completed my studies, but how do I do it? And so in almost like a, if you can, a sensible, practical form so that they could understand how is it that they can actually go about it. I know that you can't end up in a top position, but where do I start as a student? That's just for the two of you. And to Pamela, I understand that most probably not all students will find employment within the careers that they would like to be. So we do encourage them to say, how about you start up your own thing, right? So you will do your own startup, which is I'm self-employed as a journalist, right? And I'm the one who's actually able to collect news. How is it that you are actually able to support such careers whereby I know while I'm waiting to be employed, I would like to, in the meantime, do this thing that will also be able to bring some form of income to myself. Thank you.
Ati, you want to start? Or Lizo?
I can start. I think that the most important thing is that you are here in an institution of higher learning and you are acquiring the necessary skills and knowledge for you to be competitive in the workplace. And I think for me, one of the critical things is to understand where your talents are. What is it that you are keen on? What is it that you're interested in? What is it that you like doing? And follow that. And I think that if you couple your talent and your interests and your strengths with the skill set that you have, then you become a professional that everybody wants to work with. In terms of opportunities, I am going to say something that is very, very unpopular. I once said this on social media and I got beat up for it. I think that as young people, you have the perfect opportunity to showcase your skills and to expose yourself to different environments. I get a lot of young people who say, okay, I'm educated now, I'm qualified, I need a job, I'm frustrated, I've been looking for a job, I'm not able to get a job. Consider being part of organizations, whether it's civil society formations, whether it's the church, where you can showcase your skills. people are not going to discover who you are, what attitude you have, what talents and skills you have until they are exposed to them. So it is not enough to say, I have a qualification, I've submitted my CV. There are people who started looking for work until they stopped. So the job market is difficult, and one of the structural issues that we're struggling with as a country is the fact that we're not able to match the skills acquisitions. So you do have the degrees, the qualifications to what the job market is able to absorb. Hence, you find the high rate of unemployment. And for me, I think that when you are a young person, you still have time to experiment in terms of even your, entrepreneurial flair. Think about all of us have got ideas. And when I was young, post-matric, after school, we set up a local organization with other young people in our community, and we're able to look at what are some of the challenges around us that we can contribute to resolving. It was not paid work. A lot of it was volunteering work, whether it's about going to schools and helping kids at schools with their studies, or going to health. I think it's important for you to identify whatever platforms you can, so that you can learn as much as possible beyond just having the knowledge that you get from your qualification. Because one of the issues, obviously, is the issue of experience. You're young, you just finished school, the employer wants 10 years of experience, 5 years of experience. Even if it's, working at your local radio station, if you are keen on media, I have a niece, she started working at a radio station when she was like 11 or 12. By the time she's 24, she's had 12 years experience of radio production, and she's therefore much more competitive and desirable in the workplace, because at 24, she was bringing 12 years of work experience. If you want to work at a local, community newspaper, to expose yourself, even if it's not necessarily a full-time job, what are the chances that when a job opening becomes available? So I know that it's not necessarily popular, but I think as young people, whilst you are waiting for job opportunities to come up, do not be idle. Even if it means, you've got social media. Social media opens the world up to you. Start a blog, start a vlog, start a YouTube channel. You start a YouTube channel today, and before you know it, you've got followers from around the world. You're dealing with a subject matter that is of interest to you, and you become an expert. You interview people who are experts in a field of your interest. There is nothing that is stopping you now from being able to explore the opportunities that are there. So I think that for me, you have to think beyond the traditional way of acquiring work. Like now I've got this qualification, now I'm looking for work, I'm submitting CVs, nobody is responding. Yes, submit the CVs, do that work, but also begin to think creatively and innovatively. Now you've got AI. Building an app to say, okay, this is a challenge that I've identified in my community. Let me build an app that will respond to this particular challenge. You've got young people, teenagers, who are building apps that are making them a lot of money. So think about what is a problem that I think that I've got the capacity to help resolve, whether it's in your immediate community, whether it's communicating information online to help equip other people with the skill set that you have. Think about what you can do as opposed to sitting and waiting for somebody else to give you that opportunity, because it may or may not come. And that has been my story. I didn't wake up and then I was in this job. I had been doing, like I'm saying, I was working in traditional communications, doing corporate communications, the boring stuff, the newsletters, the events, the stakeholder, and I was like, I like this, and this was social media. I wasn't getting paid for it. I was doing it as a side hobby. So whether it was politicians, like a lot of the politicians in Gauteng, I'm like, let me set up a page for you. I would set up pages. You know, if it's my department that I work for, I would set up pages. Like I set up a lot of, you know, pages on social media. I didn't know then, that was like probably 2009, because I was an early adopter, I liked social media. I didn't know then that there would be a job called digital communications where I actually do social media work and I get paid for it for a living. There was no such thing then. But today, I'm probably one of the more experienced government communicators because I've been doing it for such a long time. It literally has become second nature to me. And even as I grow now, I'm like, okay, and now I've been doing this job. What are the new opportunities that are coming? I'm like thinking, you know, AI. You know, do I want to develop an app? I don't know. I don't necessarily have that skill set, but I'm thinking about the fact that AI is here. It's disrupted the way that we do work. And I think that we can, you know, we can all consider, you know, what are some of the ideas in our head that we can even start from scratch. And before you know it, opportunities will open up for you. So I don't want us to keep a traditional mentality of looking for work. Jobs are not the same. They won't be the same. When you finish school, the jobs that were there when you started, you know, in a particular qualification, might not exist. So you need to always be conscious of your surroundings and what's happening around you and be able to ensure that you adapt yourself to be able to meet you know, the needs of society. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Lizelle?
I just want to echo what Archie has spoken about, but I'll put it under the banner of diversification of skills. Now again, just because you are starting to be a journalist doesn't mean that you're going to be a journalist for the rest of your life. Now again, it's about finding what you love to do as a young person and having to monetize it. Now again. I won't tell you the story of or maybe I should, my lived experience as a mom of a 26-year-old. Even though she's got an economics degree, she writes novels, she knits jerseys, she does pottery, she goes to, I don't want to say pole dancing, but I mean, it's an activity. She gyms every day. She doesn't just do her job. And she can decide one day whether or not she wants to monetize any of the other skills that she has accumulated over the time. Even if you want to do plumbing as a side gig, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Okay? I mean, it's changed from the time where I started working 25 or more than 25 years ago. Studied journalism, went into a newsroom, a new broadcast environment, which was television again. Convergence was just a pipe dream at that stage, you know, for ETV. It was ETV at that stage, not ENCA. Learning all the tricks of the trade in a newsroom. You know, I've done everything from being an autocue operator to being an executive producer to whatever. But I used to drive past Parliament every single day and say to myself, but I want to work there. I want to be a public servant because I felt that journalism wouldn't really, you know, serve what I wanted to do. I wanted to serve the public as best I knew how. I was limited by journalism, by giving them information, oh, this is happening and that is happening, you know, in Parliament and so forth, as a parliamentary reporter. But I wanted to fully immerse myself into the information of government and how it actually benefits people. Hence, I moved over 15 years later into government communication. And I had the skill sets at that time, you know, to be able to move over. But the one thing I didn't have was understanding the public service. So you ask the question of, you know, how any of those who put up their hands and want to enter into government communication, understand it as not government communication. Understand it as entering into the public service. Government is all about the public service. Whether you work for government communication and whether or not you work for Home Affairs, is about serving the public with the skills that you've accumulated and studied for example. Now again. So as a young person, I can, not myself, of course, I can only encourage you at heart. I can only encourage you to work as a means to an end. Nage. You know, if you go and, I always tell my kids, work as a means to an end in terms of living your dream. If you want to be a plumber one day and you're using your journalism degree to be able to fund, you know, you being a plumber one, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Mind you, one day we're going to get to the point in South Africa where we're going to require plumbers because there's nobody's studying to become a plumber anymore. You know, everybody's been pushed to AI generate things. You know what I mean? And then who's going to come and fix your toilet and fix your plugs and whatever? So diversify according to what you want to do in your life. How you find whatever skill that you have, you know, to express your God-given talents. You are students. You have got certain cultural and community networks within your university environment. Which cultural groups do you belong to? Try and express your, you know, if it is the knitting club, for example, belong to those cultural groups that is a reflection of the communities that you live in. You know, I don't know what cultural groups you have here at TUT, but involve and immerse yourself in communities, micro communities, wherever you find yourselves. When you go into the workplace, you'll start immersing yourself into micro communities as well. You know, you'll be sitting on the equity board, you'll be sitting, those are micro communities where you can harness certain skills which may not be taken over by AI. I mean, we're in the business of relationship management, you know, stakeholder engagement. That's not going to be taken over by AI, not in a long shot. You know what I mean? The AI is a tool. It is a tool for you to enhance what you are studying for, basically. But government communication, like any other public servant or public service department and entity, has got 2-year internship programs that go on advertisement for, I think at the end of every single year or in the middle of every single year, where we send out the call for applications for our internships. Now again, particularly journalism, particularly communication, and public administration, because those two go together when we talk government communication. You can't divorce government communication or communication of government without understanding the public service. Now again, you know, so those calls do go out. We also have shadow ships, now again, and if there's one thing I always express to young people in Cape Town, now again, if you want to attend a government event or an event that is held at Parliament or any legislature, you are a citizen of this country. You are more than welcome to attend any of our media events, you know, any of our public events, whether it be at the legislature or whether it be at a government institution. Nothing stops you from knocking at the door and say, I want to attend here. I want to cover this story on behalf of TUT and whatever.
Own language. So if you're a publication in Sitsonga, you stand a high chance of being funded compared to an English community newspaper. So we do prioritize VANEC a lot when you're applying for funding and those publications. For startups, we also do have a target to fund startups because we do understand that not everyone is going to work in your big newsrooms. But as Ati said, you need to have the experience because if you straight out of varsity, open a company and say you want to open a publication, you're a high risk to us because we fund companies with a lot of money. So you need to have experience to say, I've worked at TU2FM, you're lucky you have a station on campus, I've worked for a local paper, and then we're a group of young people who have started a publication. So we do have a target of startups, but we guide you much more than the other ones who are experienced. We give you funds in 3 tranches instead of 2, because we're still trying to see, are you able to handle the money? Are you able to do business? We also do offer you trainings to be able to get business skills, marketing, and. So we do fund startups. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies, before we move on to Dr. Mariam Shatoni, let's take a 10 minutes break. And Bongiwe might not be here, but I need us to give her some love and really thank her for being part of this discussion. So just a 10 minutes break, and when we come back, we continue with Dr. Mshatoni and Atandiwe. Thank you.